Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, Reginald. How are you?
Doing pretty good, doing pretty good. Hope you are. Hey, Tiffany.
How are you?
Stella. I'm doing all right, doing all right.
It is now 6 o'clock.
Thank you. I think we'll give it a minute because there's just four committee members right now. Actually, sorry, that was my
Anthony, I'm seeing that you have a guest up under your name. Could you have them to change from your name to their name, please?
Not sure who that guest would be.
I don't know. Your name is listed twice.
So is that Anthony Snell, maybe?
He should have his own. Well, you know what? Both of y'all name is Anthony, isn't it? Okay, maybe that's it. It's
Good
been
evening,
a
friends.
long day. It's been a long day.
Oh, I know.
No
It's been a
trouble.
long day for me too.
Can anyone hear me?
How's it going?
Hey, Charlie. Good.
Hi, Diane. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, Councilman
Juliet.
Reese.
I was just
Juliet,
giving
it's
it
good
a
to see you.
Same here. I understand you're leaving us. Congratulations.
I'm sorry,
And
what? What was that?
Oh, did I hear it wrong?
You did not. You did not.
Congratulations to you and your family.
Thank you. We're very excited. We're very scared. Probably a good place to be at 51 years of age. A little bit excited, a little bit scared.
I understand.
Good times.
Where are y'all going, Charlie?
So at the end of the school year, we'll be moving to Paris, France.
Oh, wow.
And we'll do a school year there while my wife attempts to integrate the operations of this company that we bought in December. That's in Latvia on the Baltic coast, about a 2-hour flight from Paris. And also while she sells our new services in lots of other places all over Europe. Paris is a fantastic place to do that. Great airports, good access to all the places. Plus a school where our kids can learn mostly in English, but also take French every day. So,
Wow, that's good.
Great.
and I will be feeding children, getting them to the bus, and then doing shopping and errands, and then cooking dinner every night.
All right.
There are worse lives. I will tell you that right now.
And taking classes at the Cordon Bleu?
Probably not. I'm actually working my way through mastering the art of French cooking with Julia Child
Great.
right now. I'll be making beef bourguignon for the second time in my life on Saturday for my in-laws at their house, not in my own kitchen. So wish me luck on that. But that's probably not why we've all gathered here this evening, is it?
No, I was giving it a minute to let a few more people join us.
I was also vamping a bit to try to give us some time there.
We have a total of 23 on now.
Okay. And many more committee members too. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I want to call Thursday, March 3rd, 2022 meeting of the Affordable Housing Implementation Committee to order. And welcome again and thanks. We will be introducing our newest committee member, Kyle Bosteman, but I haven't seen that he's on yet. So at this point, Charlie, we know that you are leaving council as of next Monday. Do you want to say anything? Give you the
I
opportunity.
do. Thank you, Diane. I just want to thank you and Tiffany for your leadership on this important committee. It's been an honor to be with you and to listen to the input that you have for our development staff and for Director Scott about the important housing work the city is doing. It's been really valuable for me as a council member, and I know that you've made a difference. I just also wanted to say how grateful I am to each and every one of you for your service on this committee. Service on resident committees, on citizen committees is hard work, and it doesn't pay a lot. But the work itself is so important. And, to me, the work is valuable, but also valuable is the fact that you are giving of your time and your effort to do it for the city and for the people who rely on us. That means has always meant the world to me, and I'm so grateful to each and every one of you. For myself, I will just say, I think if any of you read any part of my statement, you'll know that this was a very difficult decision for our family. It is, I think it's no secret to anyone how much I love this job and I love this work. This is the best job I'll ever have. But though it was the hardest decision I'll ever make as a politician, it is by far the easiest decision I've ever made as a husband and a father. And so if anyone was tempted to be worried about me or sad for me, please don't, because the next phase of my life will be as a stay-at-home dad in Paris, France. And I hear it's a nice town, so I will be fine. And we'll probably be back in August of 2023, well after the filing period for local office has ended. So,
Well, thank you again, Charlie, for all your service and for participating with us on this committee. We really appreciate it and wish you all the best.
oh, friends, I do need to tell you that somehow I'm also the council liaison to the Sister Cities Committee, and they start at 7. And I need to tell them, please don't break up with our Russian sister city, because that's not going to help anybody. So I'm going to need to leave here around 7. And I am very, very sorry to do that on my last meeting, but I'll say goodbye before I go.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you again. At this point, I'd like to give our newest committee member, Kyle Bolstman, a moment to introduce himself. Kyle, for 2 minutes.
Yeah, thanks, Diane. So it's a pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to join you guys. Hopefully I have as good of experience as Charlie did right there. Let me make sure I'm on you. So yeah, I'm bringing kind of a development experience to this. Kind of want to see where things are going. I haven't had a chance to look over or meet with many of you, but I look forward to learning. Happy to answer any questions I can, and just excited to go through the process. First time on a committee, joined kind of with real estate experience. So I come as a broker and a developer, but as far as being involved in any kind of political office or government kind of a side of things, I have no experience. So it's going to be a learning experience for me.
Well, we're delighted to have you on the committee, Kyle. Thank you again. At this point, I'll turn it over to Juliet for roll call.
Okay, Stella Adams.
Present,
Thank you. Levon Barnes.
present.
Levon Barnes. Okay, Laura Beatty.
I'm here.
Thank you, Ms. Laura. Kyle Bolstman.
Yep. Here.
Diane Katati.
Here.
Lucia Constantine. I think I got the wrong copy. It's S. Nicole D. She's the one to resign, right?
No, I'm here.
Oh, you're here. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think if I had the right roster or not. Tiffany Elder.
Here.
Courtney James.
Here.
I. Jarvis Martin.
Here.
Rita R. McDaniel.
Here.
John Parker.
Here.
Venus Sanders.
Here.
Okay, Timothy Stallman and Angela Vick Lewis sending their excuses. That's it for roll call.
Thank you, Juliet. I appreciate it. Okay, at this point, I will review the agenda and the ground rules. So following this, we will approve the minutes of the January meeting. We'll have a presentation from the Community Development Department. We'll have updates from the Durham Housing Authority staff. We will not have the city financial update noted on the agenda, but Reginald Johnson will explain more about that. And then Tiffany will lead a discussion regarding committee engagement and review. And then if we have time, which I think we will, we'll hear any comments from the public and then wrap up. In terms of the ground rules, they are, Laura, if you don't mind muting, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure.
Ground rules are to show respect for others and opinions, to presume goodwill, to be fully present. And we will have one speaker at a time for our virtual calls. Only the speaker will be unmuted to help eliminate background noise. So please stay muted until called upon. Please be brief in your questions or comments. And committee members can raise their hand to speak. There's a little icon at the bottom of the screen. And I'm skipping the next two. And please use specific examples and enjoy the process. So that is that. Next is Tiffany for approval of the January minutes.
Great, thanks, Diane. Per the minutes that were sent out by Juliet, are there any proposed edits to the minutes for the January meeting? And if not, do we have a motion to accept the meetings as written?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
We need a second.
Oh, sure did forget the second.
I second it.
There you go. And I guess we can go through this again. All in favor of approving the minutes as written?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect, thank you. Any opposed? Okay.
Thanks, Tiffany. So at this point, we'll hear from the Community Development Department. Is that you, Reginald?
Yes, that's me.
Great, thank
And,
you.
You're welcome, and thank you so much. And I'll be short. My report is brief this evening. I wanted to share a couple of things. One is we do have, if you remember, you received notice about a multifamily request for proposals, multifamily projects. It was 9% and 4% projects that we did a solicitation for, and that has closed. And if we have actually received, I think it was 11 proposals, totaling $49 million worth of projects, and some good applications in there. The committee has met and shortlisted 4 of the projects, totaling about $16.7 million. I'm not ready to release the names just yet. I just signed the letters today to let them know that they'll be going to underwriting as the next step of the projects. But I want to let you know that the process is ongoing, and that we'll send an announcement out as soon as we get through another couple of steps. But yes, I know I saw someone said the need is great. Yes, the need is definitely great, and the money is short. But you know, I think we're going to get some positive units and some positive projects. Remember, we have historically only received 9%, and we have not always received 4% tax credit projects. But it looks like we will have some coming forth, and you'll see that announcement. I just wanted to share that. Then I also wanted to just share with you, we did have the first needs public hearing for the federal funds was held at the last council meeting, had about 19 persons that did share about needs in the community. Some of you I saw actually spoke, and some were present, and thank you for that. And so we are taking those into account, and we'll be preparing a draft of the annual action plan, which is our federal funds, and having that on display 30 days before we have the next public hearing on the draft. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. And then I'll stop there. Oh, there was a question, Madam Chair. How quickly will we see these projects going forward? Actually, an excellent question. So what the process now, we're sending the projects to underwriting, and depending upon that's to finalize the amounts of our contribution. And then we have to go into contractual negotiations and then present the contracts to council. In terms of units and where people can move out, we're probably talking a good 18 months to 24 months, depending upon the particular project. But I would submit that it would be a great addition for these projects in total number of units.
Did you want to comment on the financial update now or later?
I can comment on it now. So it was our intention this today is to present the financial update. We're almost there, not quite. We expect to put some finishing touches on it in another day or so and be able to email it to the committee members on Monday. That's the plan right now. What you will see in the plan is in the update is the budget that we had initially proposed for the $159 million. You will see the actual expenditures by project for the first 2 years. Remember, we started in counting in January and July of 2019. The bond passed in November. And so we started with that fiscal year. And you will see the projects that were included at that time. And then you'll see all of the expenditures. Then for the next year, which is FY20, you will see the expenditures and then of that year. And then, I'm sorry, yes, you will see the expenditures. Then the next year, next 3 years, fiscal years, you will see projections of what we plan for those next three years. So there's some accounting pieces that we have to verify and some things that are in or out, and we're not ready to present tonight. Came close, but not quite there.
Thank you, Reginald. There was a question in the chat about how quickly we will see these projects move forward and where and what land is going to be used.
So I will, the projects, that's what I was sharing earlier, that after we go into contract, depending upon the contract, that I would expect, probably 18 to 24 months. So it takes a while to get the projects going and get it through construction. We think the numbers will hold even in this environment, but we have to see that as well. There was another question.
It was about where and what land was going to be used.
I'm not prepared to share that just yet, because for me to do that, then I'll be sharing who the persons are. Not ready to name that just yet. But obviously, when we do announce it, it'll be fairly obvious.
Reggie, I have a question.
Yes,
related to the annual action plan. You present, I'm disappointed you didn't present to us tonight a version of the PowerPoint that you presented to council about the goals and of the action plan. If I'm a citizen and I want to comment substantially about the action plan, there really wasn't any opportunity for seeing what the current action plan is and understanding where the changes in were. One of the things that you talked about was that you were thinking about dropping the tax program because so few people used it, and you were going to recommend to council not to do the tax relief program. But when the council approves a tax relief program at their first meeting in December, and the deadline for applying for a tax relief program is December the 31st, how is that? And there's no outreach officer as promised in the affordable housing bond commitments. How are citizens supposed to know that they can apply for that program? It's very frustrating, and I was disappointed to see that in the PowerPoint presentation that was presented to council.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'll share a couple of things. One, the annual action plan and the tax relief program are separate. The annual
But
action
you put
plan.
it in the but you put it in the PowerPoint.
Annual action plan. You haven't done it.
Well, the federal, the tax program is not involving federal funds, that's local dollars. The annual action plan only includes federal dollars. So that's one piece. I think what you're sharing about is the additional year for the tax program that Durham operates, not the one that the county operates. So for that one, if you remember, we did add another neighborhood, Walltown, to that. And actually the deadline is March 31st, and we've been doing outreach. Actually did mailings and have been meeting with community groups on that program. Actually, I know for a fact that we had a great one that was in person with community members in Walltown.
And are you still recommending, so are you recommending because it's going to be blended with the county program that we're going to have one program? Is that why you're recommending dropping it after this year? I'm trying to understand why that was in there.
So our program, the program that we have had, Sunsets, it was a pilot. The city contributes about $500,000 to the program with the county, which is not coming under community development. We don't not responsible for that program, even on the city side.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Johnson?
No, that's just a correction, Reginald. Good evening, it's Terry Porter Holmes. Reginald, there's a correction to the financials. The report will be submitted with the projected 23 and 24. So it'll be 2 years of projections, not 3.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you again. If there are no other questions, we'll move on to hearing from Durham Housing Authority staff. Anthony?
Good evening, everyone. Next slide, please. We will jump right in and give you all updates, and we'll cover 2 primary things, the Fresh Start program and also our development projects. Next slide, please. So this is an update of the overall Fresh Start program, which is our program to help be able to assist our DHA public housing residents with their rental arrears. The ERAP program, which was the program that was operated by the county, we had 370 households who applied for a total of about $679,000. To date, we have received about $501,000 of those dollars. And there are still some proposals that are pending. And then there are some that have been denied under the ERAP program. Those that have been denied under the ERAP program will be a part of ERAP 2, or the Dorm Rent Relief Program. There were 277 households who applied for the city's rent relief program, or the Dorm Rent Relief Program, what we call ERAP 2, because we started calling that before it had a name. So 270 households applied for a total of $430,000 as of February 23rd. We are now still scrubbing the numbers and getting additional information. So these are all still very preliminary numbers. And I should also mention, in the third large bullet here, is that we have had 320 families that have taken advantage of repayment agreements. So overall, most of our families have been seeking some type of assistance, either through the rental assistance program and or they have engaged in rent payment agreements with DHA. So given where we were, I think the last time we came together, we were very concerned with, literally hundreds of families not engaging with DHA. we are happy to say that that number is down to significantly less than 100, but I can't give you a permanent number now because again, we're still kind of scrubbing all the data and trying to meld the information from the 2 rental assistance programs plus some of the repayment agreements that we have been able to strike. We should have more concrete information in the next week or so. But again, we've seen tremendous progress in families who needed rental assistance in actually applying for funding directly and or actually engaging in rental agreements with DHA. And as I mentioned before on several occasions, for those families that are behind in their rent, if they work with the housing authority, we can establish a repayment agreement with them, and that'll avoid any opportunity or any need for us to actually apply for eviction with those families. So we still have some out there, and we're continuing to do outreach for them. All right, next slide, please. And I believe I'll turn it over to Mr. Snell.
Sorry, there, a little delay. Good evening, everyone. Do you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I just quickly want to walk through some of the progress that we are making on some of our projects. Certainly, we are continuing to make progress overall in our DDMP implementation. Within the DDMP, right now we have been focused primarily at J.J. Henderson. At J.J. Henderson, next slide, please. Next slide, please. At the J.J. Henderson site, as you know, we are undertaking the rehabilitation of this particular project. Right now, we're making a lot of progress. We're about 60% through on the construction of this project. We're expecting that in the 4th quarter of this year, we are going to complete the rehabilitation of this project. We are just going through the various stacks. Some of the major work that has been done at the site, certainly if you have driven by the site lately, you will see that this whole front green area of the site is gone. We have temporary parking there, and we have actually moved the management office, which would be on the upper level where you would, the old entrance, we've moved that to the south side of the building, which is the new entrance to the building. So these are some of the major things that have taken place at the site. And, you know, of course, we are relocating everyone on site. There's no off-site relocations for the rehabilitation as the work is taking place. Next slide, please.
Just a slight clarification. We did have some families that were moved off-site in the very beginning, but I think there were about 8 or 10 families that were initially moved.
So the other work that's taking place at the J.J. Henderson site, in which we call our J.J. Henderson Seniors, and this is our new construction. That is on schedule. That's projected for completion the 1st quarter of 2023. Actually, since I put this slide together, we are roughly at 19% of our construction work is complete. We are the big thing with this site right now, we are actually coming out of the ground. We're doing our foundation work. And if you've gone by the site lately, you will see that we've actually completed the construction of the elevator shaft. The initial plumbing is being put into the foundation, and we will start the pouring of that foundation next week. Next slide, please. And this is actually a picture of the site showing some of the progress that we have made. We closed on this transaction in July of 2021. We had our groundbreaking ceremony in August of 2021, and you see we've made quite a bit of progress since then. This grassy knoll is no longer there. We've transformed from the grassy knoll to the initial site work to the picture in the middle is showing where they're actually doing the drilling for the pilings that were put in the ground for the foundation. And then the one to the far right is you see where the elevator shaft has actually been constructed. And you see the plumbing that's in the ground, and we will start the pouring that foundation. So then we can start with all of the vertical work on the site. So we are very happy with the progress that we are making. And we'll hopefully, this is a progress that we will hopefully be transitioning to with a number of our projects as we get them through the stages to this point where we can start construction. Next slide, please. And this I just wanted to share with you in relationship to our DDMP, the work that we are doing, and just to focus a little bit on the work that we have been doing at what we consider the 519 East Main and Liberty site, which is our targeted project for the Choice Neighborhood Implementation Application. And just this is to share with you, this is our efforts to continue to leverage additional funding to help us with the implementation of our development plan. So we applied for this competitive grant from HUD. We actually submitted a grant request or application for $40 million. This is the culmination of the efforts and from working along with the city of Durham. They were the co-applicant. The Downtown Durham Inc. was the neighborhood implementation entity. Laurel Street Residential is a housing implementation entity, and Durham Children's Initiative is a people implementation entity. Just sharing information about this opportunity that we are pursuing to secure some additional funding and leveraging for our projects and our efforts in development. Any questions?
There is a question in the chat, Anthony, and also I wanted to call your attention to some positive comments from Laura and Stella in the chat, and then another question from Stella. So I can read those out if you like. Rita asked a question for Mr. Scott. Do you think it would be a good idea to add security to DHA properties? I think part of it got cut off, but in response to some of the shootings, I think that was one of the questions.
I see. Yes. So it would be great if we could do that. Is the problem is, we don't have the ability to provide security from a cost perspective. And the one thing that I think is important to connect is, with a lot of the violence and things like that are going on in our communities, those are still crime issues that are the responsibility of our police department to assist in providing that security, if you will, right? To provide that police presence. And, we've been working with our Durham Police Department around that. In some of our sites, for example, a couple of our sites, we have what are called community engagement units, and they try to come to the communities. Actually, they have a kind of not quite a substation, but it is a unit at McDougal Terrace that we have for them, where there's a group of officers, what's called the community engagement unit, that are part of the presence there. That was something that was started in the previous police chief. The current police chief is also continuing that program. We hope to get her, we hope that she can get more support via the grants to be able to support more officers in that kind of capacity, in that role. But like many companies, you all know that the police department has had a lot of challenges with filling positions and things like that. So these are issues that we have tried to engage our community in terms of being able to notify the police when they see suspicious activities and events and things like that, so that they can be more on top of it. But it's a partnership that we have with the police department to be able to create and increase the security that we have in and around our communities.
Thank you. There are several questions from Stella. They sort of all go together, but the first one is DHA still eligible for this grant since you received a downgraded designation from HUD? Or did that just apply to McDougal Terrace? And I'm going to keep going because they all go together, but she asked
Yeah.
for an update on McDougal Terrace on the Fayette Place site. And I guess, could you comment in a general way about the distress designation?
Mhm.
And then I'll hold the last one. Sorry, that was too many.
Okay, yeah, I
Thank
see
you.
them. I just pulled them up.
Okay.
So she's asking about the downgraded designation, meaning that DHA is considered a troubled housing authority. That's a designation that actually was based on the 2018 fiscal year. The question around are we eligible for that grant? We are still eligible for the Choice Neighborhoods grant. We actually verified this with HUD. It is something that you're eligible for as long as your field office supports you. We talked to the field office. They said yes, they support us in being able to get this grant. With respect to McDougal Terrace, there's nothing new to report. Unfortunately, our media jumped ahead of us because we just completed a recovery agreement, which is basically an agreement between the Housing Authority and HUD as to what we will achieve within a fixed period of time. This would have been done, back in 2019 or 2020, but because of the pandemic, everything got pushed out to now. We didn't receive the first iteration of that agreement until late last year in August, and we've been back and forth with HUD ever since. So that agreement, as a part of it, in terms of McDougal Terrace, it said that HUD wants to see us get out of the public housing business with respect to McDougal Terrace. So over this next year, we will be working to provide a plan for how we will reposition McDougal Terrace. We'll take it out of the public housing program, but that's the same thing that we've done with Maureen Road and Daymar Court. And frankly, it's the same thing we're doing with J.J. Henderson and the other sites that are part of the DDMP. It's getting out of that public housing program. And what we'll do over the next year is to figure out, does renovation of McDougal Terrace make sense, or does it make sense to tear down and rebuild? And we'll do that work over the next year. That'll include community meetings with our residents, et cetera. We would have been sharing that with our residents, but the media jumped on the story right away when they saw that HUD had said that we had to take McDougal Terrace out of our public housing inventory, and it didn't give us an opportunity to meet with our residents first to share that story and let them know what was happening. Unfortunately, it caused a lot of panic with people because the way the story came out, it literally came out in the middle of our board meeting. They put a headline out that said that people had to leave by the end of the year, which was not even close to the truth. No one has to go anywhere until we have an approved plan by HUD, which includes relocation, what relocation is going to be like. It's under the Uniform Relocation Act, et cetera. So folks will have places to go when and if it comes to a point of tearing down McDougal Terrace, or if we have to do renovation. Either way, have to move folks out to be able to do the extensive work that has to get done there. With respect to Fayette Place, we will be providing a response to the protests within the next 24 hours, and then we can talk about it more after that. Oh, and street lighting. The street, it depends. Oddly, there are some parts of some of our communities that are actually owned, the utilities are owned by DHA. And that goes way back to in the beginning. So in that respect, the lighting is the responsibility of DHA. And in other respects, in most cases, it is the responsibility of the city of Durham.
Thank you. Do we have other questions? I see Charlie Reese has his hand up. Councilman Reese, please.
Hi,
go
thank you,
ahead.
Diane. Just on the street lighting issue, all the city does is report problems to Duke Energy. And actually, there's a Duke Energy website where folks can go and register streetlight problems. So Stella, if you have specific streetlights that you are seeing as problems, please just drop me an email. My autoresponder, ignore that until Monday. Send me an email and I can work to get those reported to Duke Energy or DHA, whoever's responsible. Thanks, Diane.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? We do have a few more minutes for discussion if people want. Hearing none, I'm going to turn it over to Tiffany for discussion about committee engagement and review.
Co-chair Katati, is he
Yes.
finished with the presentation? He has more slides.
Oh,
We do?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a map showing the
Okay.
boundary area. That's it.
Thank you.
All right.
thanks, Juliet. Tiffany?
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. This conversation really stems from the fact that we have received inquiries from committee members who feel that the committee should be doing more. Housing and affordability and housing is a very, very highly discussed topic. So now that we've been at it for a year or so, and we've gathered a lot of info, this conversation is about what more, if anything, do we need to be doing? So feel free to offer any feedback about how you feel things are going. What concerns, if any, do you have? What are you hearing from the community? I have some other questions for you as well, but maybe those can get us started. Dennis?
Yes, I just want to start off by saying that I am a committee lead member of We Dream of Black National Domestic Workers Alliance. And there is a lot of single women that are head of their households, like myself, with a medium income, just making the average of $15 to maybe $20 an hour. And you may have 2 or 3 children or either helping out with grandchildren. Since the pandemic, rent has gone up tremendously. And there are a lot of families and a lot of conversations that we have, and a lot of people that ask me about the rent, that they can't afford the rent, or all the affordable housing that they are building. Like, what is left for those of us who can afford to buy a home, or on an average can pay maybe like $1,200 a month rent. So those are the questions that I am getting, not only from others, but some answers that I would like for myself as well. Like, there's I guess no more middle class, either you're rich or you're poor. So for those single mothers that want to live in a decent, neighborhood, in a decent environment to bring up their children or their grandchildren, what does Durham have to offer them in the next year or so?
And yeah, that's a really good question. And that might be something, thank you for sharing that. That might be something that
You're welcome.
the committee can consider, because one of the other questions that we had discussed and would love some feedback on are there areas where we need to do a deeper dive? Are there groups of committee members who want to create subcommittees to look at specific items and present or bring the info back to the committee for further conversation, so that there's a deeper understanding of issues such as this? Sort of all of the above. So what is your, do we have additional feedback even on what Dennis just shared? Stella?
I'm trying not to be Mikey and on this committee, but I think that we do have a really significant problem for first-time home buyers and for moderate income to middle income renters. The rents have just gone up so much, and I'd like to see us think about, and if you're a first-time home buyer, it's very difficult to compete with cash, because any kind of loan program that you would qualify for that would be in your best interest, like an FHA loan or VA loan, those type loans take time. And when I can give you cash today and you've got to wait, maybe a month for FHA approval. I just would like for us to really think about, and the city, investors are coming in and buying single family homes for rentals. And so that's taking things off the market. I'd really like for us to think about how under the bond, we can develop a program, work with the contractor that the city has around rehabbing existing older homes to really create an opportunity for home ownership. And I'd really like to, I think that that's critically important. And I'd like to take a stab at that with some folks on how we can take our how we can retain our existing affordable housing stock and keep it affordable and try to figure out how we can do that. So, I sign me up for that subcommittee if it were to exist, because from a research perspective, single family rentals I've been looking at for over 10 years, but the explosion because of COVID has made that is equal to multifamily housing in terms of rental now in America. And we've got to figure out how to save those starter homes, first time home buyer homes.
Thank you for that. I think we had Courtney and then Levon.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sitting in my car waiting for my daughter, so I apologize that I usually try to have my camera on. But Stella, I completely agree with, and Venice, everything that you've said. That is 100% the most frustrating thing about my job right now. And Tiffany, I'm sure that you can relate to that as well. And so if there is a committee, sign me up. I would love to participate in that. One of the things that we've talked about in the past that I feel like would be beneficial for us to dig a little bit deeper into is, at least I don't feel I have a good feel for this, but doing an analysis on what other areas are doing that have been effective. This is not an issue that is unique to Durham, obviously. And I think that it might be a good exercise to just do an analysis of some other, policies, et cetera, that might have worked in other areas to see if we can introduce those, in Durham. I know all locations aren't the same, but I can't imagine that there isn't something already out there that could help. Thanks.
Perfect. And just so you all know, I'm taking notes over here and I'm happy to circulate them to the committee so that they can sort of figure out where everyone fits if there is an interest to create these subcommittees. But Levon, I think you were next, and then Venice.
Yes, and I apologize for not having my camera on as well. But of course, I want to double back on this Stella says. I mean, I think if there's a committee, I would like to be on that too. So I guess we might have to form a committee now. But I'm curious about, and maybe Ms. Stella can answer this question, or somebody else on the panel, is actually how much existing stock do we actually have that we could actually purchase and rehab? Because I don't think that there's much, if anything, left. The way that the market has been trending and going, and where it is going. But I think that is something that we as a committee, and especially with this bond, really need to look at how much rehabbing can we actually do to make sure that folks who want to be first-time home buyers can actually get an opportunity, a chance, a shot to stay in Durham and not go somewhere else, because I just feel like we're going to lose a lot of talent because people are going to be priced out. And that's going to be unfortunate.
Agreed. Thank you for that. Finish, your hand was up, but then it went down. I'm not sure if you had another comment.
Yes, basically the gentleman said what I was going to say. Also, I don't have to piggyback, but I did want to say I've been in Durham for 10 years and rent has doubled since I've been here. And there are a lot of folks that are migrating from different areas, whether they're coming from further south or even up north. And at the end of the day, everyone can't afford to buy a new home, or maybe they have financial issues. But at the end of the day, everyone does want a decent place to stay and be able to afford where they can stay out without always having to ask for handouts. So that's it. And we need to start some of these programs to help some of these single families to either financial, how to manage their money, or just something to ensure that, they matter too in Durham.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
John?
I just wanted to bring up some anecdotal evidence. One very small sliver ray of hope is that there are so many people who are selling now that expect, multiple offers, 10, 20 offers on their properties. But I was able to successfully this week help a tenant purchase the property that they're renting. There is folks that own property in Durham and live in Durham. And if there was a program or a way to incentivize sellers a little bit, to sell it to the tenant, find out if the tenant qualifies and then assist. There are programs like the FHA 203K program, which, Tiffany, I'm sure you're aware of, as well as the Fannie Mae has a program called Homestyle, which also allows for renovation work to be done. So I think that it is a good idea to take a look at what other communities are doing and follow up with what Courtney said. But that may be one way. I don't know. There's some way to get, if you own a home and you're going to sell it, can you sell it to the tenant first? Get it appraised. Maybe the city can pay for appraisal or something.
And I think we're back to Courtney. Or is that the same hand raise from before?
Oops, sorry. Yeah, I'll take that down. That was the same.
I'd like to ask about something. What about Habitat for Humanity? Now in McDougall Terrace, there are a number of tenants who do work. And I was wondering if you could somebody can just say a few words about that and how they go about applying and actually having a house built.
I think it might be helpful to have someone, from there to share a little bit about the program so that we can all get full information and disseminate that. I know that one of the challenges they face are rising land prices and finding land that they can build on right now. One way that they are trying to work around that, I have a colleague who's working with them to figure out how can they essentially build more densely on the land that they come across. How can they potentially take a single family unit lot and leverage current zoning to get more than one residential unit that can be owned by someone, maybe with an attached home or the new small home designation, et cetera. But not wanting to speak for them, maybe it would be good to have somebody to come and share, a little bit about the steps, if that's within the scope of what we can bring into this conversation, into these meetings. Have someone come share so that everyone can be aware of their program and how to get in line for their program for when opportunities come available. I think that'd be great, Laura.
Yeah, I think that's so important considering, the 2 or more year hold on McDougall and, since we're not sure if it's going to be renovated or, ultimately will be closed and torn down, to give some folks the opportunity, especially as wages have risen So they would be eligible, their income level will make them eligible for Habitat. So to give those folks an opportunity, to buy their own house and help build it.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I would appreciate,
I think
any type of information you can come up with, so, I could let folks know here. Thank you.
Okay, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
I think I see Anthony's hand raised.
Yes, I wanted to comment. One of the things that we have been able to do is to partner with Habitat. We've sold some land to them over near the Franklin Village area. So they are building, or mostly finished or almost finished, with 37 single family homes along those lines. And we're also looking to partner with them with other property that we have. We're trying to work through some stuff with HUD, because HUD can be a little difficult at times in trying to do this as a partnership. But we think we have some creative ways in which to do that. And to Laura's question, we certainly can help in terms of connecting folks to at McDougall or other public housing communities. We actually do that on an ongoing basis. But I would say this, don't wait until anything happens at McDougall. If you have families that are interested in becoming homeowners, let's do that now. We don't need to wait till anything happens to McDougall. That's something that you want to take full advantage of right away. So I'll circle back with you on that, Laura.
Thank you so much, Mr. Scott.
Perfect. So it sounds like we are moving in the direction of subcommittees. And we can put some effort down the line into seeing what that looks like. Again, I'll be sending out a follow-up from some of these comments, but are there other comments, concerns, thoughts on topics that need a deeper dive, comments from the community, feedback that you've gathered? Levon, I see your hand up again.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the doubling of rent. I think one of the most frustrating parts of being a renter in Durham, whether
You're going in and
You're
out.
breaking up a little bit. Are you there?
Can you hear me? Hold on, I'm gonna try to find me another spot. Hold on. All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Are you, okay. Now, saying biggest issues.
Wait, we're losing you again. Oh, and now we lost him completely. Okay. Well, when he joins us, we can try that again. There was another hand raised, but I don't see it now. So feel free to just jump in.
It's Nicole Diggs.
Good evening, everyone. I know one thing that interests me about joining this committee was the possibility of doing site visits so we can visualize some of the images that are being presented on a monthly or bi-monthly basis, so we can see, the current conditions where they're actually located if you aren't familiar with Durham in that instance. So I think like putting our feet to the pavement and getting out, I think that'll create some connectiveness within the committee since we've been in this virtual space for the past year, so we can safely introduce ourselves, learn our expertise, and then also see the actual locations of the sites that we've been speaking on for the last year.
Okay.
We're gonna give it another go. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I'm a blame T-Mobile and the 5G. But no, one of my biggest issues with renting in Durham and the doubling of rent is, what are you actually getting for your rent? You're not getting a new carpet. You're not getting a new refrigerator. You're not getting new appliances. You're not getting anything new. But your rent doubles. And yet, when you talk to landlords about what is it that I'm getting, it's the same space that it was 8 years ago. And sometimes those appliances and sometimes those items that are in those apartments predated you even coming into those dwellings. And it's so hard to work with these landlords and saying, hey, I need upgrades. My electric bill is going through the roof because, you know, you have an older system in there. So I think one of the things that we really need to start investigating is if you're going to double rent, if you're going to increase rent in that form of fashion, there needs to be something that comes with that. I don't think it's a problem with people saying, hey, I understand my rent will go up, but if my rent's going up and it's the same wall, the same paint from 20 years ago, I have a problem with that because you're not putting anything new. And so I think that's something that I would hope that this body could put in our prayer view. Is we have a lot of people who, yeah, they want to rent, they want to own a home, they want, you know, stable housing, but the landlords are not working with them and giving them the bare necessities of things that they need, the upgrades that they need, but they want more money. So that's my beef.
Got it. So
Can I build upon LaVon real quick?
Absolutely.
I think maybe this is where we should start having the conversations about the potential of rent control, since we are seeing that things are increasing substantially. Just kind of explore that option or have a subcommittee since we're into this space of subcommittees, but really start thinking about what that looks like for Durham residents.
And I'll speak on that. That conversation came up last year within a couple groups that I interact with. And rent control, is Charlie still here? Charlie's not here. I believe he was one of the persons that mentioned it before too, but forgive me if I mistake this, but rent control is determined at the state level. It's nothing that cities have a right to determine for themselves. So if we want rent control, then that's something that you have to lobby at the state level for the state to put in place. And the comment was made previously when the conversation came up is, given the state that we live in and the powers that be, the rent control is probably not something that would fly on the state level as a popular vote. Nothing's impossible, but just keeping that in mind. But it isn't, I was told on 2 separate occasions, that's nothing that Durham can implement for itself.
Tiffany is correct on that as a state law.
Thank you, Tiffany.
That's not exactly true. If you use city money in the contract, you can limit how much rent can go up as a term and condition of a contract. And that's not, so
yeah, this is just like for naturally occurring housing.
Yeah, for naturally occurring housing, no, but for money that's being spent through the affordable housing bond or through CDBG or through DHA, you can put some type of rent control measures into those contracts.
Right. Jarvis Martin.
Tiffany, a couple of things. The comment that just was stated that yes, and anyone who's dealing with the city using their money, there is clause in there in terms of what the landlord can raise rent over whatever period of time. So that's already there. It's not something that needs to go there. The other thing is this whole thing about rent control. I think there are tons of studies to show that rent control does not do anything to make homes affordable. It does have a deterrent on new inventory being built, which over the long term only put greater demand on what's already there. So that's been shown in study after study all over the country.
Good point. John?
Yeah, I just want to weigh in. We used to have the Mayor's Roundtable on homelessness, and that was led and facilitated by the Community Empowerment Fund. It was a chance for our Mayor Bell to meet with community members, nonprofits, as well as landlords, And it seems that Mayor O'Neill is, got a learning curve about all the housing issues in Durham. I just wanted to put in a plug that might be a good idea to continue the conversation or have a conversation and maybe broaden the lens a little bit. And the community may benefit and some of our other new leadership may benefit. So that's just an idea.
Okay. And are there any other concerns on this? Just any final words? I think we've covered the time we had allotted, but it's an important conversation. And if not, if there are ever any thoughts or comments, feel free to email either myself or Diane. We're happy to gather those comments and pull them together and keep this conversation going and get these subcommittees created. But thank you for your comments. Absolutely. And John, is your hand up for another comment? Okay.
Tiffany, you had some questions in the chat. I don't know if you want to address them now.
We sure do. Let me scroll back. I'll start at the bottom and go back. Is there any program for single men who work full-time, but they might not have a past, nothing in the last 10 to 15 years, but even for my son, there's nothing he can afford. Is anyone aware of any programs that fit the description for what Rita mentioned?
I'm not aware of a program right off the top of my head.
Okay. And this may be a question from Larissa. This may be a question for someone on the city or DHA side. What does the city plan to do to help tenants with rising rents now? Will the city continue to fund rental assistance? How will the city increase affordable rental housing?
So the money that we received for the emergency rental assistance was basically one-time money from the federal government. Does the city have plans to continue that with local dollars? No, that won't be in a proposal that we have as of yet from the city government. That's of course up to elected officials to make any determinations about that. What we're doing to create additional subsidized housing, affordable housing, that's what we talked about earlier that the Housing Authority is doing. That's with the multifamily RFP that I talked about at the beginning of the meeting. That's what some of the projects that we've come before you and shared with you about are all doing. The challenge, quite frankly, is that it's not enough. To meet the need, because the need is great. There's no question about that. But we are and have been producing subsidized housing quite a bit.
Perfect, thank you. Let's see, Rita had another question. We have families living in hotels paying $300 to $400 a week, but cannot find housing because of past rental history. How can we stop letting the hotel franchise keep people down and take monies when these people could be taught how to budget their money and learn to save and manage their households? It's a good question. I'd like to say, I'm not sure if like reinvestment partners are there or some of the other programs in the city do just that. It's a matter of figuring out how to connect the people with the programs that are available. And I'm not sure what the silver bullet is to help make that happen, but yeah.
Can I chime in?
Absolutely.
Yeah, can I chime in? This is something that's definitely been on my heart and mind as well. Financially, first of all, needs to start in our elementary schools first. So by the time they get to adulthood, they know how to manage money, save money, and prepare for these things. But I do feel in the meantime, I think that this should be a partnership with whether it be through DHA and the city and the county on mandatory financial literacy classes. and how to save money and do these types of things. A lot of our folks are not educated on it because they've never been taught. They don't know, and that's unfortunate that a lot of folks have not learned how to save 10% of what they might make in their check, or 5% of what they might make in their check, and put that away for a rainy day fund, because there are so many people who are out here who are 1 or 2 checks removed from being on the street. So in order for us to change the narrative, in order for us to do something different, I think that if you are trying to get into DHA housing, or you are in DHA housing, that you attend, it should be a requirement that you attend once a month or quarterly financial literacy classes in order for you to be able to learn how to do these things. I don't know, maybe that's too harsh, maybe that's the teacher in me, but I think that we have beat around the bush long enough on us expecting people to know how to do certain things, but they've never been taught how to do these things in the first place. And because I see it with my students every single day. You give them $1, they're going to spend the whole entire $1. So, I think that's a partnership that we probably can do and look at doing, as far as building up financial literacy classes and courses with folks who are already in our DHA properties, so they can get out of those situations. I don't know. It's just a thought, comment.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a brilliant idea. I think I saw that, I think Anthony, I saw his note that he had to leave. I'm not sure which Anthony that was. But they both have Anthony.
That was Anthony Scott. The other Anthony is still here.
Okay, so maybe you can help with this. I'm not sure if there are overlay rules that you can put on DHA residents that maybe are in addition to what the federal requirements are, or if it's something that can just be offered to them, for their discretion.
Tiffany and team, I've been doing financial literacy training for over 30 years. I've been working with low resource individuals for over 30 years. And they're some of the best money managers I know, because they can take a penny and turn it into a pound. They can feed a family off of $5 for a week. I've seen it done. The problem is not that they are not savers. The problem is that if a kid, they are on hourly wages. And if a kid gets sick and they can't go to work, or if they get sick and they can't go to work, there's no money. And so that rainy day fund is sucked up by that. I would love, I would love for you all to really understand how folks are managing money and managing jobs when it's an hourly wage. They're being purposely shorted hours so that healthcare doesn't kick in, so that certain other laws don't kick in. So they are limited to about 20 hours a week per job. Then they have their obligations. They're the best money managers I know. I don't know. I mean, they might need a savings course. And we could talk about how the housing authority can use some of their tenant funds that they have, and work with resident councils to do IDA matches for families that are looking. An IDA is an individual development account. I'm sorry, I do acronyms. Individual do a dollar for dollar match to help them with that, with saving. We could then look to financial institutions in the city or the city to participate in matching their funds, and then making those funds available for a number of things. But until we get Medicaid expansion in North Carolina, so that until we get sick days, paid sick days for workers who are hourly, these families are going to struggle. And then they end up, if they're not in, one of the things that really broke my heart about the situation where the families were being put out on during Christmas was that they did not want to identify themselves as low wealth individuals because they work every day. And there's still the stigma on public and subsidized housing that people in public and subsidized housing don't work. They work 2 and 3 jobs. But you know, at $7.15 an hour, you can't pay rent, and that won't get you rent in Durham. You've got to actually make $16 an hour to rent a 2-bedroom in Durham that's affordable. So I just want us to, I'm all about financial literacy, but I'm telling you, these are some of the best money managers I know.
Miss Stella, and you know, I meant that with no disrespect, because my mother was one of those who made a dollar out of a penny. What I'm saying is there's not enough consistency of the education that we need to provide folks. And what I mean by consistency, we have a whole bunch of organizations that say they do well or do something for our lower resource folks, but it's got to be more than just feeding them. That's what I mean by the consistency of financial literacy management. How we having to say, when you are in need, when you are sick, this is how you can do these things. That's what I'm talking about, where our resources and our minds need to start going towards as we get more and more into seeing folks being pushed out of Durham. They're going to go somewhere and it's going to be the same thing all over again, where they might move to a different county or move to a different city that doesn't have the same views that we have here. So we can start focusing on being more consistent in putting pressure on a lot of these organizations or colleges to making sure that all residents that are in DHA housing, or in, for that matter, anybody, can get that financial literacy training. We all are better for it. Even those of us who have means still need financial literacy training as well. So it's not just just for folks who don't have. It's also for people who do have it that might be 1 or 2 off from being in that position. And I always appreciate all the work that you do. So I wanted to make sure that I clarify that I wasn't trying to say that we're not doing this stuff. I'm saying that we need to be way more consistent in putting our money and our dollars to making sure that folks are being advocated and helped in this way.
Perfect. And I see a comment from Reginald. The comment period for the needs public hearing is still open. Can you mention?
I'm typing in the email address and the website address, and they can still be received by mail also.
Okay. And I just want to bring everyone, thank you for that. I want to bring everyone's attention to Larissa's comments about if you know of someone who's homeless, or if you're homeless and need a hotel room, call Entry Point Durham, and she has a number listed. And another message about Urban Ministries Durham and Reinvestment Partners, just to share those as a potential resource. So this has been a vibrant conversation, and it will probably not be the last that we cover these topics. Again, we will compile these comments and notes and get them out to you in a meaningful way so that we can move forward with making sure that everyone is very engaged on the committee and that we're getting the work done that everyone joined for. So thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. At this point, we have time for members of the committee, for members of the public to make comments if they want. Larissa, thank you for your 2 Q&A comments. Is there anyone on the attendee list? I guess you can raise your hand, and then Juliet would let you in the meeting for verbal comments.
I'm getting ready to let everyone in the meeting, and Larissa has her hand up.
Okay, thank you, Juliet.
Just give me 1 second. think Larissa's already in, if you want to take her.
Okay. Larissa, did you want to share some remarks?
Oh, I would. First of all, I want to say good evening. It's so nice to see all the people. When you are an attendee, you can't see anyone. It's really, really difficult to just sit here. But I'm glad to see all the people who are here. I do hope that your committee does make recommendations, as Reginald Johnson put into the chat. The hearings are still open to give input into the community development department's funds. And I think it's important to hear those requests from the community and look at all the funds, not just the federal funds, not just city funds, and also, working with the county to keep people who are homeless or about to be homeless in their homes, which is the best thing, is to keep people in their homes. But right now there's no rental assistance to prevent evictions. There's, long lists for affordable housing with the Housing Authority, housing choice vouchers, as well as public housing. Habitat has gigantic waiting lists for home buyers. And so the need for housing, affordable housing, is so high in Durham. I just hope you will look at other funds. I don't know what we're doing with our ARPA funds. How are we using them to address this affordable housing crisis? That would be my question for tonight, or if it can be answered at a later date. Thank you.
Thanks, Larissa. Mr. Johnson, do you want to address that, or do we want to do that at another time?
We'll do that at another time, because I have to gather that information from the city manager's office.
Are there any other members, while everyone's in the call now, that want to comment? I don't see any hands raised. Oh, Ted Helbron. Ted, do you want to go ahead? Juliet, is he actually in the call? I see him as an attendee still.
I keep trying to move him over.
Okay.
You know what? I think he's over now because his hand is on the panel list now. But I don't see him.
Ted, if you're still interested in making a comment, please feel free to go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Absolutely. I'll be super brief. Just to echo Larissa's point, our group is an affordable housing developer. We're active across the state and have a couple projects in Durham. And the city of Wilmington, for a project we're doing there, awarded us $5.5 million to build a 278 unit 100% affordable housing project. So those funds are being deployed elsewhere across the state towards generating more affordable housing. So that was all I was going to add.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Philip Azar, you can go ahead for 2 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. It's great to see everybody. And I definitely want to thank the co-chairs and everybody on the committee for what you're doing. I'm struck a little bit by how quickly Durham is changing versus the goals of the housing bond and the narrative around the bond when it was passed. I thought we knew wasn't enough, but with the optimism that we could get housing online and get out in front of the affordability crisis. And my concern is that by the time the incremental affordable housing comes online, that the people who it was intended for during the narrative of passing the bond are not going to be in Durham anymore. And whether that means that some of our metrics are a little outdated, And we need to do some more innovative stuff like using, whether it's bond money or the self-help, do city money to buy housing when it becomes available on the market, and give first-time home buyers time to get HFA or VA loans in place to then buy them so that they can compete more effectively against an investor, which I sometimes am. But there is, I think, this need maybe to level set some of the expectations around how quickly Durham is changing versus the narrative and the purpose
2 minutes is
behind
up.
the bond. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Phil. Does anybody else want to comment? Okay. The floor is open, but if not, we will go ahead and wrap up. I do want to say I'm looking forward to seeing the financial analysis from the Community Development Department, and we should expect that next week. And I'm very hopeful for the multifamily, seeing the responses to that RFP, and very hopeful for the DHA neighborhood initiative that they will also receive funds. Tiffany, did you want to add anything? Okay. Well, thank you again. We're getting out a little early today because we had 40 minutes designated to review the financial update. So we will definitely do that next time. So thank you all and good night. Oh, sorry. And the next meeting is May 5th at 6 p.m. And again, for the members of the public, you can go on the Forever Home Durham website. And if you go to the partners page and go to the Affordable Housing Implementation Committee, there are links to register for future meetings, and there are minutes and presentations from all the past meetings.